Candidate Advisory Council to order. The date is Friday, December 13th, 2024, and it is 10:05 a.m. And my name is Greg Clausen, and I am the RCAT Chair. Okay. First order of business is welcome and introductions, and we have a lot of new people that joined us here within the last 24 hours. So welcome and thank you. When I first joined the Senate, and I served for 10 years, there would be a meeting, and my normal procedure would be to be there a couple minutes early. And first time I came into a room like this, nobody was there. I sat down, nobody's there, nobody's there. And I started thinking, have I got the wrong day, the wrong time, the wrong room? And then I found out there's something called Senate time. And Senate time is never on time. And those of you that served in the House, maybe there's a similar thing in the House that there's not. Okay. It just took a while to get everybody on board. So I greatly appreciate your patience in working through that. But again, welcome to our newly appointed RCAT members. And on behalf of the Minnesota Legislature, the University of Minnesota, and the citizens of Minnesota, I want to thank you for your service. And we currently have all 24 RCAT members appointed. So that's a milestone right now. At this point, I'm going to ask Ms. Olson, as secretary, would you conduct a roll call, please?
Chair Clausen.
Present. Oh, I should say, to speak, you need to flip that red switch there that's in front of you. I apologize for not letting you know here, but I am present.
Member Ali. Member Andelchek.
Present.
Member Bernardi.
Present.
Daniel's excused. Member Devine.
Present.
Member DeWayD. Member Farrell.
Present.
Member Hilbrich. Member Hill.
Here.
Member Jessen.
Here.
Member Matchett. Senator Mohammed. Member Mergendahl.
Here.
Member Ojala.
Here.
Member Otto.
Present.
Member Moore.
Present.
Member Pandy.
Here.
Senator Rarick.
Here.
Member Reynoso.
Here.
Member Sorstrom.
Here.
Member Theopold.
Here.
Member Tiaki.
Here.
Member Winkler.
Here.
Very good. I'm advised we do have a quorum. We're currently appointed active council members. So thank you. I'd like to begin today with some introductions because many of you, as I mentioned before, in about 24 hours notification that you would be appointed. So I think it's important that we go through and just become aware of fellow RCAT members. So if you'd be willing to introduce yourself, talk a little bit about maybe your background and perhaps why you're here today, why did you chose to serve. I'll start and then maybe we can just move to my left. So thank you. My name again is Greg Clausen. My background is in education. I was a high school principal in the Rosemont Apple Valley Egan public schools for 15 years. I spent 5 years as our district office doing a lot of federal and state grant work. I was elected in 2012 and then served 10 years in the Minnesota Senate. All of those years I served in either the higher education vice chair or the higher education minority lead. And so it just kind of a natural with my interest in higher education that I was appointed as a senator to serve. And I'm happy to be here. This is my fourth session of, appointing regent or recommending regents to the legislature.
Good morning. I'm Barb Farrell, and this is my second term on the RCAC. And I went, my undergraduate degree is University of Minnesota. I was a business grad back when there weren't a lot of us in the business program at the university. My career was technology sales to primarily healthcare and higher ed. I've had the privilege of serving on a number of volunteer boards. The one that I spent 16 years as a volunteer, as a first board member for a nonprofit called Caring Bridge that you've maybe used. And it was just a real privilege to help build Caring Bridge from the ground up. And I currently serve on the board of Children's Cancer Research Fund. So we raise money. Cancer research, and much of that money goes to the University of Minnesota. We spread out nationally, but we began with the university funded research for kids. So it's a privilege to do that as well. It's nice to see you all this evening.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Edward Reynoso. I'm the Political and Legislative Affairs Director for Teamsters Local 320. I just clicked over 43 years as a Teamster. So, it's I'm a long-term employee. I guess I'm going to stick around for a little bit. I'm also, as a lobbyist at the Capitol, I obviously lobby on labor issues. I have an extensive background in transportation, a whole bunch of other issues that pertain to workers. So I'm happy to be on this board. This is my second go round on selection process. I'm almost like a veteran now, right? Since we've got some lower seniority people here, a whole bunch of them. But welcome aboard for the new members, and look forward to working with you all.
Good morning, members. My name is Mark Jessen. It's my second term as well. I am a graduate of 1985 CLA at the University of Minnesota, political science and speech minor, with the hopes of getting into politics, but instead took over the family business, which is printing. And so I have a company called Jessen Press in St. Louis Park. I'm the past chair of the University of Minnesota Alumni Association. I'm currently on the Strategic Safety Advisory Committee for the university, and then serve on RPAC, obviously. So that's me.
Good morning. I'm Connie Bernardi, and I'm a former state representative in the Minnesota House, served for 16 years, and served as the higher ed chair for 4 years. I live in New Brighton, and I am happy to be here and work with all of you on this important job.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Rahma Ali, or Rama. I am a current undergraduate senior in the College of Liberal Arts, majoring in biology on a pre-medical path. This is my first time serving on this committee, so the reason I'm here is for student voices, student representation in all of its aspects. So thank you for having me, and it's a pleasure to work with y'all.
I'm Jason Rarick. I'm a current state senator serving District 11. So it's from Rush City up to Cloquet. I've been in the House for 4 years. I've now been in the Senate for 6. 4 years ago, I was picked as the vice chair of higher ed, which started me down this path of getting involved here on the RCAC. Outside of the legislature, I'm an electrician. I belong to IBW 110 and have been a sole contractor, self-employed contractor for the last 22 years now. I think the main reason I'm both a senator and here today is my complete inability to say no.
My name is Richard Andolchek. I grew up in northern Minnesota, a small town just north of Brainerd called Cross Lake. I actually went to a one-room schoolhouse. That was kind of interesting because they tore it down after I left. And now, of course, education became important. Was a student at the University of Minnesota. I participated in varsity sports there, and have a strong belief that education is extremely important. Served 8 years on the school board in Pequot Lakes, where my father had served for 8 years. My daughter has served for 21 years as chair, 18 of those years. And small businessman. I was a presidential appointee by President Clinton to be on the SBA advisory board. So I've worked with both sides. I think that the civic duty that we have as people to serve in anything that has to do with education, which I feel is the answer to a lot of our issues in America today, that I need to be here, and I probably can't say no either very often, but I think it's well worth being here to do what we can and served on the board of many different companies around the US and also with global presence also. So it's a pleasure to be here with you today. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, we figured out who's buying lunch today, right? You guys to our left.
Yes, good morning, everyone. My name is Matt Hill. This is my second cycle on the committee, and by way of bringing my background here, as an undergrad at the U through a unique program, the Evans Scholarship. It's the largest private scholarship in the country, and so that was very unique perspective. And then over the years, through professional employment, I've had a number of interactions with the U, most recently couple of years with the Good Neighbor Fund, which is the investment mechanism from the Huntington Bank Stadium, investing in the communities. And then also personally, my youngest sister is finishing her undergraduate at the U. And so these last few years to channel her experience through this committee to find the right leadership that the university deserves is something I'm bringing to the table here. Pleasure to be with you all here this morning.
Good morning. It's my first time on the committee as well. Lucas Shostrom. I serve as Executive Director of the Minnesota Milk Producers Association, so work for dairy farmers on nights and weekends. I am a dairy farmer and my family owns Redhead Creamery, so a small scale cheese plant. And with all of those affiliations, we end up being literal poster children for the St. Paul campus. And that's one of the reasons I'm here is the St. Paul Gopher Coalition supported me to come forward. I was a Regents candidate, I think in 2020, but sometime during COVID when there was lots of Zoom meetings. And very glad, I think in hindsight, that you chose not me. Not a good time in my life. But the reason I ran at the time was because I wanted to make sure someone in agriculture was on the board and didn't know who was coming from the 7th district. Last thing I'll say, I graduated with a bachelor's and master's in animal science, and then work here a lot at the Capitol and various agencies on water quality, environment, and how that intersects with farming. Thank you.
Good morning, I'm Megan. This is my third go around. I was a previous student member, graduated from the university in 2020 with degrees in political science and history. I now work in public affairs. I also serve on a charter school board in Apple Valley Fit Academy, and then in January, starting a new role as council member of Elko New Market.
Good morning, Kenny Devine. Great to be here. Professionally, I work in strategic communications at an agency called Padilla in town. I'm a proud graduate of the University of Minnesota College of Education and Human Development in 2015. Currently, I serve on some nonprofit boards around the education space in Minnesota. I'm here because I believe in the mission of the university as a land grant university and hope that we can help shape the future of this great asset, state of Minnesota.
Good morning, I'm Wendy Ojala. I also am from the Rosemount area. Professionally, I am an SEC compliance accountant, Sarbanes-Oxley, taking companies public. I have my undergrad and 2 graduate degrees all from Carlson School here. And how I ended up here was I was originally approached to apply to be a regent and a few years ago. And at the time I was also serving on a Minnesota Wild Board and helping with the Mary G. Arena hockey campaign. So chose this route instead. So this is my third go around, first term, third vote.
Good morning. My name is Steve Tyak. I'm one of the fresh appointees. Less than 24 hours ago, I did not know I was on this commission. You can remember my last name because it rhymes with kayak, the boat that you paddle around. So I did a stint on the Wayzata City Council several years ago, and in my campaign, I had a person carry a kayak in the campaign and had a sign on the side that said my name rhymes with kayak. So I tell everybody that story. I'm a retired lawyer. I'm from Duluth, Minnesota originally. I spent 26 years at Elite, which is the electric power utility in Duluth. Then I retired and moved down here, and I practiced with Briggs and Morgan in Minneapolis for 8 years. And after that, I retired. I went on and I taught at St. Thomas Law School. And I did some local political activities in Wayzata. I was on the Charter Commission, the Council, the Planning Commission, and I ran and had a seat on the City Council for a term. And after that, I did some work for the city of Minnetonka on their Economic Development Commission. So I think that background in local politics is very important. And I think a lot of it stems from the political science degree that I got from the University of Minnesota, which really started me off on my career path. So I'm very appreciative of that. And I'm very happy to be part of this commission today here. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Quentin Moore. This is my second go around on the RCAC. So super excited to be here and thank you all, especially those new folks who stepped up to serve in this capacity. In terms of professional background, I've spent the last decade in the philanthropic fundraising space. Most currently, I've been at an organization called Ascension Catholic Academy for the last 4 years, serving as the Vice President of Advancement. So helping major donors, foundations, execute their giving priorities in terms of helping scholars achieve their best. And I think education is a tool that can help folks pursue their goals and dreams. And I think the University of Minnesota provides a wonderful opportunity for young adults to do that. Happy to be alongside you all.
Very good. And we do have some people that are joining us remotely. So Bill Otto, Bill, could you introduce yourself to us, please?
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Bill Otto. This is the first meeting of my second term on the RCAC. In my time outside of this, my background is in public affairs, communications, and government relations, of which 6 years I spent doing so at the University of Minnesota. Thanks again, and it's great to be here.
Thank you, Bill. Next, Cal Mergendahl.
Hi, everybody. Cal Mergendahl, they, she pronouns, PhD candidate in the Department of Chemistry here at the University of Minnesota. I graduated from the Morris campus in 2022 with BAs in chemistry and music. Been involved in student government for a while, starting in Morris. Right now, I currently serve as the president of the Council of Graduate Students. Right now, I'm here as one of the student representatives. Yeah, I'm currently joining you all today from Brunings Hall. Going to be running an organic chemistry study session for the final exams next week. So I'll be in and out, but looking forward to coming down and meeting you all in person in January.
Welcome, Cal. Representative Ryan Winkler.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the RCAC. Ryan Winkler, I'm former House Majority Leader. I spent 13 years in the State House, and I've always really tried to focus on good governance at the University of Minnesota, and I'm pleased to be joining for the second round of Regent elections.
Welcome, Ryan. And I haven't seen you at any hockey arenas yet this winter, but I'm sure I will.
It's not because I haven't been there, Mr. Chair.
I understand very well. Ms. Pandy.
Hi, everyone. My name is Shivangi. I am a current student here at the University of Minnesota, completing my bachelor's and continuing my master's also in mechanical engineering. I'm super involved on and off campus at the U, specifically within the College of Science and Engineering. And I guess this is my second term, so excited to be back. I was the student representative last year, so excited to meet the student representatives this year.
Welcome back. And again, welcome to all of you. And, over the next month and a half, we'll get to know each other a little bit better as we work together and making some recommendations to the legislature on our Board of Regents at the University of Minnesota. Moving on to the second item on our agenda, which is the approval of the October 29th, 2024 meeting minutes. Members, you've been provided online access in your packet today to those minutes. Are there any corrections to the October 29th minutes? Any corrections to the October 29th minutes? Hearing none. If there are no corrections, the minutes stand approved. Motion to approve is not necessary when there are no objections to the minutes. Moving on to the third item of business, which is reviewing procedures for selection of
those to be interviewed. Our task today is to review the 40 applicants for the 4 open University of Minnesota Regent positions and determine those applicants we will want to interview. As a review, the Regent openings include 1 student at large position, 1 5th congressional district position, and 2 at-large positions. And some applicants qualify to apply for more than 1 position. Examples would be a person who lives in the 5th congressional district also may apply for an at-large position. Similarly, a student applicant applying for the congressional district or at-large positions because they happen to live there and have an interest in joining and applying for those positions. The applicants have been noted in the 2024-25 Board of Regents applications document that you have in your packet. And just remember that there are 40 people who have applied. But if you look at the at-large position, we actually have 37 people that have applied for that position. So it's a little tricky in some ways as people apply based upon their living situation and what they would like to throw their hat in the ring on. Our newly, one of the other things I want to go back as we kind of look at applicants, I want to go back to our October meeting and the October minutes. At that time, we had Chair Janie Myron from the Board of Regents here, as we usually do every time at our first meeting, we have the chair come in and talk about the Board of Regents. And one of the topics is the skill sets. What are the skill sets needed to be an effective regent? And our goal has always been to get a diverse group of people with a diverse set of skills and that provide different perspectives as a regent. And I want to just share, there were 2 things that she shared at our last meeting. One was, as someone asked about what are some of the needs on the board. She is going off as the chair. She has been a district judge. She found that maybe we need someone with a legal background would be helpful. She also indicated it would be nice to have someone with a financial background to serve. She also stressed that people that have a good understanding of what governance is all about is important. And so I just wanted to share those comments as we go through the process here and continue to discuss some of the candidates. Well, our newly appointed council members have been in possession of the application documents for less than 24 hours. Therefore, I would like to recommend that each applicant name be called out in alphabetical order, 1 by 1 in each of the 3 regent positions. And that members may make comments regarding that applicant, their qualifications, whether they have strengths, whether they have weaknesses, in order to really have a thorough review. And that will maybe provide just a few minutes to look through some of those applicants for people who really have not had much time to review the group of applicants that are before us. And again, there's 40 applicants that we will be looking at today, and some of them we'll be seeing twice on the list of applicants. So with that, we had, Representative Bernard.
Chair Clausen, I wanted to get your advice on this. I believe that we should move forward with all 5 student board candidates for the Board of Regents. And would you like to wait? Would you like me to make that motion after we go through all their names, or accept all of those students and then or I wanted to know your preference, Mr. Chair.
Oh, very good. Good question. We have those names in front of us. It has been a tradition in the past when we have a few members that we automatically move that we are going to interview all of them. The procedures state that on the first round of voting, you can nominate 6. And when you have a few number, generally, we've passed that and, there's been a motion be made that we'll move ahead. Comments about that? Senator Rarick.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would concur and would happily second that motion if we could just move forward with the 5 students.
Mr. Reynoso.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was gonna second it, but Senator Rarick beat me to it, which is okay. I totally agree. If these 5 students put their names forward, it's only five members that we'd have to screen. I think it's a great idea.
Okay. Any other comments? Could you? Yes, Representative Farrell.
Thank you. My only question or concern was, given how many people, there's so many excellent candidates in the at-large, and we are time constrained, will it make a difference with how many people we can interview in Congressional District 5 and at-large, if we take all 5 of them? If maybe they all 5 wouldn't be applicants we would use. See what I'm saying?
You know, given the number of applicants that we have, we start the interviews on January 6th, and we've scheduled a week. And I would say the number of applicants that we have, we probably will be in session here that entire week, and then voting on Friday, potentially on who we would recommend to move forward to the legislature. So, okay.
And Mr. Chair, I just want to make a comment too.
We have
sorry,
someone
go ahead.
online that has a question first. Representative Mergendahl, there we go.
Yep. Thank you, Chair Clausen. I just, again, really want to second what members Bernardi, Senator Rarick, Member Reynoso are saying. I agree. I think we have a really, in my, extremely brief review of the application so far, I think we have a really talented pool of student candidates this time around with a lot of interesting strengths. And I'd personally really like to get the chance to see and hear more from all 5 of them.
Okay. Thank you for those comments. I'm going to, do we have someone else? Okay. So we would need to have a motion to suspend the rules, and then we can take your suggestion. So can we have a motion to suspend the rules? So moved. So moved. Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Okay, to suspend the rules, we need to have 2/3 people that would support that. So I'm going to ask Ms. Olson to take the roll, and if you are in favor of supporting suspending the rules, say aye. If you are not, say nay, please. Thank you.
Chair Clausen,
Aye.
Member Ali, Member Andalchek,
Aye.
Bernardi,
Aye.
Member Devine,
Aye.
Member Farrell,
Aye.
Member Hillbridge,
Aye.
Member Hill,
Aye.
Member Jessen,
Aye.
Member Mergendahl,
Aye.
Member Ojala. Aye. Member Otto,
Aye.
Member Moore.
Aye.
Member Pandy,
Aye.
Aye.
Member Reynoso,
Aye.
Member Schwartzstrom.
Aye.
Member Theopold,
Aye.
Member Tyke,
Aye.
Member Winkler.
Aye.
Right. Yeah, we definitely have the votes needed on that, so we will then take Representative Bernardi's motion.
Chair Clausen, I'd like to make a motion that we accept all 5 student candidates to interview for Regent for the, and can I just leave it at that for Board of
That'd be fine.
Regents? Thank you.
Okay, second, please.
Second.
Senator Rare. Good. All those in favor of motion at which we would accept all 5 applicants in the student at large category that we would move forward with an interview, please say aye.
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 Those opposed? All right. Motion passes. So we will be interviewing all 5 of the student at-large applicants. Getting back then to my suggestion, I will call the name, and if people would like to comment on that person's qualifications, then we can perhaps get a better idea of who our applicants are and who is deserving of our votes. Yes.
Mr. Chairman, in absence of a packet, I do not have possession of any of the resumes. Is there any chance I could get?
Yep, we will do that. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll just wait a moment so you have that packet.
Mr. Chair, I have a
Yes.
question.
Yes.
You mentioned earlier the overlap between the 5th district and the at-large. Do they automatically default to at-large if they're not selected, or do they have to apply for both?
On their application, they would have to indicate that they were applying for both.
Okay.
And in the past, we've had a little bit of flexibility that we can make some decisions. If a person is in the 5th and at large, and we feel that we have a definite 5th candidate that we really agree on, then we could move a person that also has those outstanding qualifications to the at-large position. And that's something we'll do during the week of the 6th. Okay. All right, let us begin then. Robert Albright, the candidate. And we're looking at the Congressional District 5 candidates. First one again, Robert Albright. Any comments? We'll just give a couple minutes for people to look, because I know that many of you haven't had a chance to review the candidates. Any comments? Yes.
I was impressed that I was, very focused on finance and asset management. I mean, it sort of fills that niche that the Regent was talking about in the financial area of someone with that background.
Very good. Other comments? All right, let's move on to the second candidate, Devin Driscoll. Any comments? Yes, Ms. Farrell.
Something that, when I reviewed all of the applications that I paid careful or extra attention to was governing board experience. I remember when Regent Penny Wheeler interviewed with us, she said I was served on 12 governing boards and have chaired 4 of them. And that was the governing board kind of experience that told us she was strong, that helped me look for a strong candidate. So I really did look, all due respect to people of much accomplishment and credential. I'm looking for that. As a governing board, this isn't the place to, learn to be a governing board. And this gentleman I noticed has, 1 governing board experience listed. So that was a little concerning to me.
Thank you. Other comments? All right, let's move on then. Oh, we have a hand up.
Mr. Chair,
Representative Winkler.
hi there. Thanks. Yeah, I was just going to say that governing boards, of course, are important. And we should also bear in mind the need for people with a strong legal background on the Board of Regents as well. And so as we're looking through, I think it's important to consider that factor according to what Regent Maron was sharing with us. So I think a lot of these candidates have a mix of backgrounds and experiences, and there will be a range of governing board expertise, but I think having a diverse group of backgrounds is important, and I don't think there is much in the way of legal leadership on the Board of Regents at the present time. So something to keep in mind.
Thank you, Representative Winkler.
Our next candidate is John Friedel. Any comments? Yes.
I guess I was very impressed with his broad kind of life experiences. He seemed like he had a very, very background in every place he went. He seemed to make contributions and improvements and things. So I was very impressed with that. And he does have a number of governing board background that he listed also.
Good, thank you for those comments. Any other comments regarding John Friedel? All right, let us move on. Benjamin Kaplan. Comments? Yes, Senator Rarick.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is one of the individuals who, when considering putting his name in, reached out to me to ask about the process. I will say, one of the things I'm looking for is someone who's willing to ask good questions, and throughout the process, he was unsure of exactly what he was getting into, but he asks great questions, trying to understand what the process is, what was going to be expected. And when I checked in, looked into his background, he does appear to be someone that I believe we should be sending forward for that next step.
Thank you. Any other comments? All right, let's move on to our next candidate, Roger Kittleson. Comments regarding Mr. Kittleson's candidacy? Yes, Ms. Farrell.
I just have a quick question. Looking at Mr. Kittleson's application, he checked at large.
He had contacted me and also wanted to be considered for the fifth.
Okay,
Yes.
just double check.
Yep, thank you. Any comments regarding Mr. Kittleson? All right, let's move on then. Mike Linneman. Mr. Linneman. Yes. Senator Rarick.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would again speak on behalf of Mr. Linneman. He is someone that when I served as vice chair of the Higher Education Committee, had reached out to me. He was very involved with the university during when the three men's sports were removed. He was very involved, worked with a large number of folks. He works from that sports background. He knows a lot of people within that arena, and that is another area that I think our Board of Regents is lacking right now, is that connection. So another person I think is worthy of that next step.
Very good. Thank you. Any other comments regarding Mr. Linneman? All right, moving on to Ellen Luger. Comments?
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I certainly believe that Ellen Luger really fits the criteria of what start off with the current chair of the Regents is asked for. She has a law degree in Georgetown University. When it comes to governance also, she served with the U.S. Department of Agriculture as a minister counsel in Rome. And when it comes to finance, another criteria that the chair is looking for also, the chair of the Regents right now is finance. She worked on as a committee member with the major national campaign, the Biden campaign. So I believe when it comes to financing, she certainly understands that, and I certainly believe that she'd be a huge asset to the university as a regent.
Yes, Mr. Devine.
I concur with those sentiments. Something that really stood out was that she has been on a board of trustees already and has experience in this area. And with that, navigated a very contentious issue on campus. So having that experience and having to navigate that, I think would do her well at the University of Minnesota.
No, I agree, Mr. Devine, with your comments. I was impressed with the number of leadership roles on the Wellesley board that she took on, and having someone that served on a board of that nature at a higher education institution, I think would have some definite benefit of having her at the University of Minnesota. Any other comments? Representative Bernardi.
Thank you, Chair Clausen. I just want to ditto everything everyone has said about the candidate Ellen Luger.
Very good. Any other comments? Right, let's move on to Jenna Mitchler. Jenna Mitchler, comments. And we'll just get a little time here to look over that. Yes, Mr. Devine.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. What really stood out was her deep experience in just education overall, having a PhD in education. She's been very involved with the College of Education and Human Development, a lot of K through 12 board service. So I think she understands education and what it means. So I thought that stood out from her background.
Thank you. Yes.
I do like that she does mention she works with as many community members as possible, whether that's students, school staff, district leaders, community members, and even consultants. So just with the experience that she has working with those members through policy work and whatnot, I think that really stood out to me from her application.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Right, let's move on then to Kosar Mohammed. Oh, yes, that's right. She is also applying for a student at large position. So she has already been granted a interview. So I'll just say, is there any comments? But we do have her already scheduled for an interview. All right. Nicole Navarro. Nevert. Thank you. Any comments? Any comments? All right, let's move on to Brian Osberg. Comments regarding Mr. Osberg's candidacy. Right. Seeing no hands. Our last candidate, Dale Weeks, under the Congressional District 5. Dale Weeks, any comments? Okay, not seeing any comments. We have reviewed all candidates that have applied for Congressional District 5 seat. What I'd like to do next is talk about the voting procedures, and then we would vote for the Congressional District 5 candidates. So let me go through those procedures. To start out with, on the first ballot, you may vote up to 6 individual candidates. Okay, so individual candidates, you can't put 6 votes for a person. It has to be 6 individual people for Congressional District 5. A simple majority of votes will qualify a candidate as an interview finalist. So we could have more than one, obviously. I think it's a simple majority. Candidates receiving no votes will then be eliminated from the second round of voting. Okay, and I'll go through the second round of voting after we get through this first one, so we don't have the confusion. Senator Rarick.
To be clear, you do not have to vote for 6. You can vote for up to 6.
That is true. You would not have to vote for 6. Okay. Are there any questions on the voting procedure Now I'm gonna turn it over to Sally to talk about what we're going to be doing next regarding SurveyMonkey.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, because we have some members attending remotely and it just kind of works a little slicker than us hand balloting. The candidates will be selected using SurveyMonkey, a balloting tool. So you will each all get an email. I gave you a heads up about this before, but from Diane. So make sure you check your spam too, because it'll be coming from Diane Henry at lcc.min.gov. And the ballot will have the names on it. You also have to put your name just to be in compliance with the open meeting law that votes will be public. It's not posted, but we have record of it. And that's really it. And if you don't see it coming, just let us know if you haven't received the ballot. And if you have any questions, just let us know.
Any questions? Give you some words. We do have a question. We have two questions.
I'm just wondering where the
Ahmed? Oh, and.
where the link is.
So you missed actually the introduction phase, so maybe you could tell us a little bit about yourself and then
Yeah.
ask your question, please.
Sure. My name is Brenda Hilbrick, and I guess professionally, I am an executive vice president of SEIU Healthcare Minnesota and Iowa. We represent about 50,000 members across healthcare workers across the state of Minnesota, and over 1,000 of those are at the university hospital. I would say I had the opportunity to serve on the task force on academic health at the University of Minnesota last year, and this seemed like a good natural next step to make sure that I'm to be able to think about the future of the university hospital, to think about the future of the university, not only for the students and the community, but for the people who work there as well. And then I don't know, I guess my question is, maybe I missed it, Sally, but where do we find the link to vote?
The link to the SurveyMonkey survey was just emailed from Diane Henry Wangenstein. So you should receive an email from her that has the link.
Senator Mohammed, would you introduce yourself, please? Joining us. Missing that.
Sorry, I did not have my mic active. So Senator Mohammed, would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Hi, everybody. My name is Zaina Mohammed. I am a state senator and I represent South Minneapolis, a bit of Southwest, and a little bit of Southeast as well. It's good to be here. It's my first one, and so I have a clarifying question, if you don't mind. I think earlier you had said there was somebody who you already have decided that is gonna go through the process in terms of being interviewed. And I don't see their name on here for the 5th congressional ballot. And so I just wanted to ask, like, how does that work? Because I don't see the name on here.
If you're referring to Kosar Mohammed, yes, she was also applied for the student at large position. And we just voted all of those people would be receiving an interview. So she will also be interviewed automatically through the motion that was made earlier in the meeting.
Okay, that's helpful. And then we picked 6 folks that we are interested in being interviewed for this round for the 5th congressional seat, right, Chair?
Yeah, she would be not only eligible for the student at large, but also, I believe, Congressional District 5, but I think she also applied for the at-large position. So she would be eligible for all 3 of the positions. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, you may vote up to 6 people. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
You got it. You still haven't gotten it? I got it.
Say how many people have not received. Getting emails, so it can't be fostered in the building, not getting. But I've got two devices. Okay. Oh, I just got it. Oh, okay. Yeah.
everybody has it? No, you still don't? Well.
What are we doing? People, everybody got it? Sometimes technology just doesn't work like.
I know.
Okay.
Did everyone on Zoom get the ballot?
Yes.
Sally, this is Bill. I have not received it.
Okay.
Could I ask a question while waiting?
Yes,
Is it possible to just, well, maybe during this time, now that people have mostly had a chance to vote, could you just maybe, for the people who are new, give a little bit of an overview of sort of the meetings for the 6th and what that looks like in terms of the days? The interview process.
the question's been asked about the week of January 6th, so I'll just, this is on the agenda a little bit later, but we've got some time. I'll just mention a few things. Interviews will take place the week of January 6th, and that is a week before the beginning of the legislative session for 2025. So hopefully, I'm sure we won't be alone here, but just expect we're going to have a lot of people that'll probably be getting ready for the session here in the Capitol. And I do anticipate, as I mentioned earlier, that we'll be in session all week with final recommendations to be forwarded to the Joint Higher Education Committee on Friday of that week. So we will be, in all likelihood, be doing our voting on Friday or late Thursday, depending upon how the interviews go and how many people we're going to be interviewing. Last year, we did finish up and did our voting late Thursday, and so Friday, there was no need to come back in. Should say 2 years ago. With the last round. During the interview process, each candidate will have approximately 45 minutes for the interview, and they'll have 3 to 5 minutes where they can do an opening statement, followed by questions from the RCAC. There is no set format on who asks questions, but we have a committee that's developed a set of questions that people can review. And it's pretty much up to individual members. When you feel you have a question that you want to ask a candidate, you can call to be recognized and then ask that question. Along with that, just kind of jumping ahead on the agenda, the people that we select today will go through a reference check process. And Sally and Wendy will be the two people that will be in charge of that. They have an approved list of reference questions that's been selected again by a subcommittee. We request a written response by people that we select to send that out to by December 30th, 2024. And then all reference responses will be made available to RCAT members by January 3rd. So you'll have that in your possession prior to our meeting on the 6th. And I want to remind people that all information provided by the reference sources is confidential and must not be shared with anyone other than RCAT members and staff. And also the identity of the reference source is also confidential. So just a few things as we've got a little time here. Okay. How are we doing? Yes. Sally schedules that based upon availability of rooms and so on, but maybe Sally, you can respond.
It's typically, it depends on the number of interviews and rooms and such, but I would plan like 9 to 5. It's full days of interviews. And maybe get a little early for the first day will be a meeting to kind of go over the candidates. You'll have a full book of the candidates that are interviewed, their references, a list of potential questions you would like to ask them, and then head into the interviews, but it's pretty full days.
We usually take a short break, midpoint for a lunch break. All right, how are we doing? Right, looks like we do have the results. I'm gonna call on Sally to announce this. Now, let's just make sure that if you want to keep track of things, if you put that document in front of you so you can kind of track the number of people receiving how many votes and who we interview. If it's simple, we'll have Sally clarify. And Sally, can you tell us what the simple majority would be based upon today's representation?
So there's 21 people, so 12, right?
Well, yes. So Sally, could you give us the results?
So
Fifth.
Robert Albright, 13, Devin Driscoll, 6, John Friedel, 6, Benjamin Kaplan, 9, Roger Kittleson, 4, Mike Linneman, 7, Ellen Luger, 16, Jenna Mitchler, 12, Nicole Navratil, 1, Brian Osberg, 3, Dale Weeks, 3.
So those that we have selected to be interviewed would be Robert Albright with 13, Ellen Luger with 16, Jenna Mitchner with 12. And that is the extent on the first ballot. So we have 3 people that have met the threshold and will be interviewed. So we have 3. Let me go on and talk about the second round. One of the things, as we move on to the second round is that anyone who did not receive a vote will be dropped from the ballot. And the remaining candidates will be placed on a second ballot. And members may vote for 0 to 4 candidates. 0 to 4 candidates. Again, those receiving a simple majority will qualify for an interview. So again, they have to meet the threshold of 12 votes. You can vote for 0 to 4 candidates. And are there any questions? All right. Send out the ballot and we'll look at the second round. Okay. Sure. Again, 0 to 4 candidates. We would drop anyone that had not received a vote, but everyone did receive at least a vote. They must receive at least minimum of 12 votes.
Chair Clausen, could you double check if your mic is on? Some of the Zoom members can't hear. They just couldn't hear when you were speaking earlier.
Okay,
Yes.
the Zoom.
She said the Zoom members were not going to double check.
Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate that. Zoom members, if you missed the second round of balloting, I'll just go through it one more time. Candidates receiving no votes in the first round of voting will be dropped. However, all candidates did receive a minimum of at least 1 vote. Remaining candidates will be placed on the ballot, which is being prepared for you at this time. You may vote for 0 to 4 candidates. Again, those remaining, receiving a simple majority will qualify for an interview. So those receiving at least 12. Again, you vote for 0 to 4 candidates. And we have 3 candidates currently that have qualified on the first ballot. And they are Robert Albright, Ellen Luger, and Jenna Mitchner. Are people getting, okay, we are.
The Gmails might be a little delayed because she has to send those individually. So. If you haven't received the ballot, can you please let us know, either on Zoom or here in the room?
Haven't received it. Everybody else got it.
Bill, did you get it?
Sally, this is Bill. I did get it and I have submitted it.
Okay, thanks.
I just got it on my iPhone. Okay.
Everybody voted?
While we're waiting for the results, perhaps we can move to the at-large area and we could discuss the candidacy of each of those applicants. The first person on the list is Jamal Adam. Any
Chair,
comments?
I'm a member of the Edina Rotary, worked with Jamal. He just want to commend him for his volunteer and clearly his experience in education. He'd be a good candidate to interview.
Okay, very good. Any other comments? Yes. Thank you. Any other comments? All right, moving on to our next candidate, Zachary Arco. Any comments regarding Zachary? Yes, Ms. Farrell.
If I'm remembering his candidate correctly, one of his proud accomplishments was some of his school board responsibility and how committed and dedicated he is to that. And it looks like that responsibility runs for another couple of years. So it's a careful walk between enough experience and too much obligation. Because something else we heard from Regent Marin was how much time not only being at the meetings requires, but the prep for the meetings. So this gentleman is not yet retired and has a very big school board responsibility. So I think he sounds like an excellent candidate, but that is a little concerning to me.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Regarding Zachary? We do have the results. I'll ask Ms. Olson to announce those, please.
Devin Driscoll, 9, John Friedel, 6, Benjamin Kaplan, 11, Roger Kittleson, 4, Mike Linneman, 9, Nicole Navratil, 2, Brian Osberg, 5, Dale Weeks, 2.
So based on those results, we have no one that has reached the 12 vote threshold. So what we need to do next is to look at a third ballot. The third and final ballot will be conducted upon a vote by the majority of the members. So, excuse me, to move to a third ballot, we would need to have a motion again to suspend the rules. Nope, we don't need to suspend the rules, but we need to have a motion that we could move to a third, or a motion to end the consideration of additional candidates.
Mr. Chair, I just had a question for clarification. How many of those students that we passed through are from the 5th district? 1. Okay, so we have actually 4 candidates more that we are moving forward for that
That's
position.
correct. Okay. Senator
Mr.
Rarick.
Chair, I would make a motion for a third ballot.
I'll second that motion.
Mr. Otto, could you repeat that motion, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would make a motion for a third ballot.
As I heard you, Mr. Otto, you are making a motion to move to a third round of balloting.
Correct.
And Senator Rarick, you have seconded that. Okay. Okay, what we need to do now is a vote. Yes. We could. We'd need to vote on the motion first, and then we can have that discussion. And we can do that by a voice vote. So we would be voting on a motion that we would be looking at a third round of balloting for the 5th congressional district. All those in, oh, we have someone online. Cal, you have a question?
Yeah. Thank you, Chair Clausen. May I request a roll call vote for this?
All right, a roll call has been called and granted.
Chair Clausen,
Aye.
Member Ali,
Sorry, just to clarify, a roll call for,
voting on a third ballot.
For voting on a third round of balloting. No,
Discussion or a roll-
for having a third round of balloting.
aye.
Member Andalchek,
Aye.
Member Bernardi,
Aye.
Member Devine,
Aye.
Member Farrell,
Aye.
Member Hillbridge,
Hi.
Member Hill.
Aye.
Member Jessen,
Aye.
Senator Mohammed,
Aye.
Member Mergendahl.
Aye.
Member Ojala.
Aye.
Member Otto,
Aye.
Member Moore.
Aye.
Member Pandy,
Aye.
Senator Rarick,
Aye.
Member Reynoso,
Aye.
Member Soerstrom.
Aye.
Member Theophald,
Aye.
Member Tiaki,
Aye.
Member Winkler,
Aye.
21 ayes.
I would like the opportunity if supporters that had spoken out or supported specific candidate, if they'd like to go through that process again and possibly have a conversation, and maybe it may enlighten others to vote for more or vote for another candidate.
Mr. Chair, a couple of us weren't quick enough on the pen. Could you restate the vote total, please?
So Devin Driscoll, 9, John Friedel, 6, Benjamin Kaplan, 11, Roger Kittleson, 4, Mike Linneman, 9, Nicole Navratil, 2, Brian Osberg, 5, Dale Weeks, 2.
Further discussion, we had a suggestion that we look at the candidates and go through and have further discussion on the qualifications. Any comments on that? Good idea? Not a good idea? Why don't we go through, I'll read the names of the candidates and people then can comment on their qualifications. First person would be Devin Driscoll.
Mr. Chair, this is
Mr. Winkler.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I've spoke out in support of Mr. Driscoll in the first introductory round and made the point that the Chair Maron suggested having some legal background on the Board of Regents. And I think Mr. Driscoll has an excellent resume in terms of a legal career. I think Member Farrell asked questions about his experience on governing boards. And I think if you read through his essay or statement, you'll see experience on a lot of boards and activities. And I would also say that his recommendations from the Chief Justice, from former Justice Lillehog, and from other very distinguished legal community leaders in Minnesota, I think is a really good recommendation. He has reached out to me multiple times, is very committed to this role, and I would urge us to support him moving forward.
Thank you for those comments. Bill Otto, online, you have comments, Bill?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think Mr. Driscoll resume speaks for itself. As a two-time graduate of the university, his legal work, his experience on governing boards, and also his experience in the political arena, including as of late, I think is a strong and currently underrepresented voice that we could have on the board. So I would urge my colleagues around the table and online to interview Mr. Driscoll. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Bernardi.
Mr. Chair, are we able to ask other members questions? We're probably not. I just wanted to clarify something about underrepresented. I wanted to know what the underrepresented part is.
You'd like to ask
Yeah.
Mr. Otto that?
Yeah, Mr. Otto.
Mr. Otto, Representative Bernardi has a question for you, and I'm going to ask her to repeat that, please.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Otto. I appreciate your comments and just wanted clarification so that I can understand what is the underrepresented part that you're referring to?
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Representative Bernardi. I just think his resume brings something to the table that is currently not present on the board or in some of the potential interviewees we're reviewing today, including being a two-time graduate of the university, but currently practicing attorney, and his governing board experience, I think, brings the unique voice. And I think one, like I said, that is currently fully represented. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Another question? Mr. Jessen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was just going to echo Mr. Winkler and Mr. Otto's comments.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Or moving on to the next candidate? Okay, John Friedel. Comments?
I believe I spoke out in favor of him. And initially, I was just impressed with the position, but he's had a broad background, the Peace Corps, the White Earth Indian Reservation. He had instituted this opiate care standards, which I thought was a very, professional move on his part. So I was impressed with his medical background. Plus, he served on the Alumni Association, and he did some lobbying for funding for student aid and that sort of thing. So he seems to be very, concerned about care and education, and I thought he had a good background.
Thank you. Any other comments regarding John Friedell's candidacy? Moving on, Benjamin Kaplan. Yes, Senator Rarick.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I would reiterate when you look at his application, he as well has a wealth of experience, both governing boards and just around governance, and brings a perspective, I think, that in today's time would be very beneficial. And I think just in general, we should be not afraid of having 4 or 5, if not even 6 people from each area to interview, to give us that ability to have our best range of picks. That not being afraid to do interviews to make sure that we get a chance to be in front of as many people as possible instead of just looking at a piece of paper.
Thank you for those comments. We've never set a limitation on how many we would interview, but rather looking at the candidates themselves and the qualifications that they bring to the table. Any other comments regarding Benjamin Kaplan?
I think
Yes.
one thing that I wanted to, or that I was a lot more focused on, was the third essay question, specifically for campus safety. If we're talking about campus safety, addressing it for all students and not just a specific group of students is really important, making sure that we're covering all community members of the University of Minnesota. So just a concern that that wasn't addressed in the application.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments regarding Mr. Kaplan? Oh, we have a person online.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going through these applications because I only got got on the board yesterday, but just looking through Mr. Kaplan's application, where he answered question 2, I really like that his answers are grounded in research and active listening. And so just wanted to name that I really like his background and some of the things that are currently on his application. And uplift what Senator Rarick said.
Thank you. Any other comments regarding Mr. Kaplan? Moving on then.
Senator Clausen.
Yes.
I'll just
Mullins.
say this in regards to Benjamin Kaplan. One thing that that stood out to me was just that awareness of the mental health and wellness of our students as we move forward, especially on our college campuses. There's a reference from another applicant in terms of the number of individuals who are the high levels of individuals that are committing suicide between an age group. And so I think just that focus, as well as just understanding that and having that voice elevated for our students around mental health and wellness and what that looks like moving forward. I think that's super important. And so I would definitely recommend Mr. Kaplan moving forward.
Thank you. Seeing no other requests to speak, let's move on to the next applicant, Roger Kittleson. Any comments regarding Mr. Kittleson? Seeing none, we'll move on to the next candidate, which was Mike Linneman. Comments regarding Mr. Linneman, Senator Rarick.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I guess one thing, when I spoke in favor of Mr. Linneman last time, when you look at his resume, it obviously has a passion for the University of Minnesota. He has spent a lot of time there. And just, I guess, another comment beyond that, we have 3 members here who were very, very close. to getting that vote. And I guess that's something I would consider, for members to consider. If you would like to see an interview of 4, maybe picking one of them. If you'd like to see 5 interviews, picking 2 of those. And if you're happy with 6 interviews, maybe picking all 3 who were really close to give us that range of people to pick from at the interview process.
Good, thank you. Yes. Yep, Matt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just want to weigh in on candidate Litterman here. I've was reached out to him. I've had the pleasure of knowing him professionally over a number of years. I believe way back when he was still a graduate student, I was doing some continuing education, but through the years, his different iterations of responsibilities, his background in university athletics, the foundation, these are roles that the Regents weigh in on, and I think it would do as well to hear that perspective as a finalist interviewee. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments regarding Mr. Linneman? All right, moving on. Nicole Navrali. I know I'm not pronouncing that correctly. Nebrika. Any comments regarding Nicole? Seeing none, moving on to Brian Osberg. Yes, Mr. Jessen.
Mr. Chair, I just want to encourage the committee to vote for Mr. Osberg. I was impressed by his resume, his volunteer efforts for the university, and clearly right now, with all the things we have going on in the healthcare sector, his experience will be extremely helpful for the Board of Regents.
Thank you. Any other comments? Our last candidate then would be Dale Weeks to consider. Comments regarding Mr. Wu's candidacy? Okay, seeing none, I think we're at the point where we can move ahead for the 3rd round of balloting. Okay, so be looking for an email. People getting, okay, got some people, okay. And we'll see it. Okay, I just received a 3rd ballot. And again, as a reminder, you can draw from 0 to 4 candidates you can vote for. It's like the 2nd round. everybody been able to get all this and stuff? This side of the room, there's something wrong. Yeah, sorry, Shane. Huh. Mm. Really? Oh,
It's Gmail.
Gmail's fault.
It's only the Gmail accounts that it's happening to.
Oh my gosh, we don't need that. I didn't realize how dirty my screen is. I didn't even clean that one. Yeah.
Can anyone let us know either on Zoom or in the room if you did not get the ballot yet? Bill, did you get it? I know the Gmails are kind of slower. I just want to double check.
Yep, Sally, I did receive it.
Okay.
So we're just waiting for the results apparently. Why don't we move on and take a look at our at-large applicant where we left off. The next one is Taiwo Armu. Any comments regarding Taiwo?
Mr. Chair, he went through as a student, correct?
Oh, he's a student. Thank you. I gotta start paying attention to that now.
We left
So
off.
he's
with-
already qualified.
We left off with Zachary, I believe.
Yes, he's already been qualified. Oh, we didn't finish on Zachary
No.
Arco? All right, Zachary Arco, any comments? Okay, seeing none, just talked about Taiwan. Robert Beecher would be the next at-large candidate. Yes. Barb.
Excuse me, I know Bob Beecher, and he reached out to me to talk about the process and the application. And I really can't say enough good things about him. He's a great guy. He's very straight shooter. He's had a very big responsibility at Fairview. His undergraduate education was at the university as a pharmacy student, but his responsibilities at Fairview are operational leadership. And he is still at Fairview, but he would retire and take on his responsibilities as a regent with his full enthusiasm and intention. So I really think you should all meet him, and he would be a great regent.
Thank you. Let's finish up with Robert Beecher before we go to the results of our third round of balloting for Congressional District 5. Any other comments regarding Robert Beecher? Yes, Mr. Justin.
I'd just like to echo the comments because this is an outstanding candidate with an amazing resume.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? All right, seeing none. Oh, we do. Ms. Hilbridge.
Yeah, so I guess I would just raise a slight concern around his current position and what that might mean to the Board of Regents with Fairview having such a close knit relationship with the university at the moment. That looks to be changing.
Yes, thank you. Any other comments? All right, seeing none, Ms. Olson, can you give the results of our third round of balloting?
Devin Driscoll, 14. John Friedel, 4. Benjamin Kaplan, 13. Roger Kittleson, 3. Mike Linneman, 9. Nicole Navratil, 2. Brian Osberg, 8. Dale Weeks, 1.
So based upon the third round of balloting, those that have reached the 12 vote threshold to be Devin Driscoll, Benjamin Kaplan. Those would be the two additional people that we would be adding to the list of those that would be granted an interview. Any comments? All right. Balloting then for the 5th Congressional District seat has ended, and we've identified how many salary people have we identified?
So there are 5 people, Robert Albright, Devin Driscoll, Benjamin Kaplan, Ellen Luger, Jenna Mitchler.
Okay. We have 5 candidates that will be moving forward. All right. Why don't we get back to our at-large applicants? We had just talked about Robert Beecher. I think we had finished that conversation. We saw no more hands. So the next person will be Peter Butler. Comments regarding Peter Butler? Again, Peter Butler. All right, seeing no comments, let's move on then to Drew Christensen. Drew Christensen. Yes, Mr. Rarick, Senator Rarick.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Drew Christensen, he's a former state representative, served on the Higher Education Committee, U of M graduate. I know he has continued to stay involved and watch what's been happening at the U of M. Just so happens during our orientation, he and I were roommates, so we have a good friendship with him, and he is always talking to me about the University of Minnesota. So I know he's following it very closely and think he would be a great person to interview.
Okay. Any other comments regarding Mr. Christensen's candidacy? Yes. Thank you. Any other comments?
Mr. Chair, without adding too much more, also get to work with Mr. Christensen regularly, and I like that he works across the state of Minnesota, so that's where I intersect with him. So I think understands the full breadth of the university.
Thank you. Any other comments? Yes.
Chairman, I would be supportive of Mr. Christensen in light of Chairman Maron's comment with the financial responsibility being an important factor too. Looks like one of the more qualified people to fit that role to complement the existing folks we have on the board and we're looking to come on the board. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? All right, seeing none. Orlando Curiel. Comments regarding Mr. Curiel. Yes. Sally.
I like that they were able to address a very important topic that we're constantly in discussion over at the University of Minnesota Twin Cities campus, which is freedom of expression. Throughout the past 2 semesters as well as this semester, a lot of students are constantly concerned about being able to freely express their opinions, their beliefs, values, and being able to address that through his application and answering it really well, really stood out to me.
Thank you. Yes, Ms. Farrell.
I genuinely don't know the answer to this question, but I know in the past we've had some concerns about conflict of interest if you were an employee of the university and still seeking a Regent application as an employee of the University of Minnesota positions. Does that make him in that possible conflict area? I appreciate that he's very talented and I believe a great candidate, but I just don't know if that's a bump in the road that would prevent him from advancing. Do we know?
Thank you for that comment, because I had thought the same thing when I saw University of Minnesota physicians. I couldn't really determine whether it was a direct connection to the University of Minnesota or that was the title of kind of the organization that he, is employed by. So I'm not sure, but you are correct, is we don't have a policy regarding University of Minnesota candidates that are employed by the university, but the Board of Regents does. The Board of Regents would not accept someone that is currently employed by the University of Minnesota. Okay, just so we understand that. Now, whether this person is directly employed, I'm just not quite sure. Ms. Olson.
Mr. Chair and members who were on the council 2 years ago may recall that you did actually interview this candidate. And I believe asked that question. And I think the answer was that it's not, that you were right and it's not the same. But I don't know for sure, but I think that was the response.
I think I recall that a little bit. Senator Eric.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I guess if we believe the person to be qualified to move on to the next level for an interview and they've put in the application, I would believe it would be right for us to do that. If they were picked and it is a conflict, then that would be their choice as to whether to resign from their position that creates the conflict or not accept the position of Regent.
That's a good point, because in the past, we have directly asked candidates who have been employed by the university what their intention is. And some have indicated that they would resign from the university to serve as a regent. Some have backpedaled on that issue. Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Gregory Cyklowski, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Candidate, any comments? Any comments regarding Mr. Cyklowski? Seeing none, we do not have to discuss Mr. Driscoll because we've already covered his candidacy in the 5th Congressional District. Jeffrey Ettinger. Yes, Mr. Jessen.
Mr. Chair, I get to watch Mr. Ettinger during his service as interim president for the University of Minnesota. And in addition to his extensive professional career in education and leading a major corporation in our state, his commitment and efforts during that year were amazing. He dealt with a lot of very difficult issues, handled them diplomatically, and worked with the university very well to move things forward during that transitional time. And I think he would make an amazing regent.
Thank you. Any other comments regarding Mr. Ettinger's candidacy?
Do not know the applicant personally, but I'm very impressed by his resume in UCLA law and interim president of the university, plus being CEO of a major corporation in Minnesota. I think he's got a stellar background.
Thank you. Any other comments regarding Mr. Ettinger? Next candidate, John Friedel. We did discuss his candidacy earlier. Not sure that there's a need for any additional comments, but is there anyone that would like to comment? All right, let's move on to John Gibbs. Any comments regarding Mr. Gibbs? We have Senator Rarick and then Ms. Farrell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was introduced to Mr. Gibbs by former Chair of the Higher Ed Committee, Paul Anderson. And when I had a conversation with him, again, he was asking great questions as far as the process, what is needed. And when you look at his background and his involvement, one of the other things that we have discussed is a need for improving the relationship between the Board of Regents and the legislature. And I think Mr. Gibbs would be able to bring that to the table. He has not worked in Minnesota a great deal, but around the country, he has been very involved in working with legislatures for helping to bring forward things for the industry that he is involved in around cable and, access. So he has that ability to understand how to work with the legislature. And I did speak with him. Again, we brought up the time commitment concern. And he said he is retiring right now, and this would be his #1 focus if chosen as a regent. So I think a fabulous candidate to send to the next level.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Farrell.
I also had the chance to talk to Mr. Gibbs about his application and commitment. I was happy to hear that he talked about retiring because he knows the time commitment. He does have a JD. He's done much negotiating and complex negotiating across the country, which is one of the things that I know Regent Mayeron talked to us about, bringing that kind of skill set to the board. And he asks smart questions and is very committed. And I was very impressed with him.
Mr. Gibbs also contacted me, so, and I concur. Just through our conversation, he's an impressive candidate. Thank you. Any other comments regarding Mr. Gibbs? All right, let's move on to Katie or Mary Harms. Yes, Mr. Jessen.
Mr. Chair, besides candidate Harms' extensive professional background and experience in a lot of different areas and fields that would be of great value to the Board of Regents, I've also witnessed her volunteer activities at the University of Minnesota, and she's a tremendous supporter of the university and brings a lot of passion to her work and to her volunteer work. She'd be a terrific candidate.
Very good. Other candidate comments? Ms. Farrell.
I would just echo what Mark just told us. I think she's a real smart candidate and is involved in reaching out for all the right reasons. I did have a chance to have a conversation with her, and she asked a lot of smart questions, and I was impressed with her passion and her intelligence. She's a real, I would support her, and I hope that we all want to meet her.
Okay. Thank you. Other comments regarding Katie Mary Harms?
Senator Clausen, if I may.
Yes,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Moore.
I would recommend at least an interview for Mrs. Harms, just looking at the references, understanding she is receiving a nod from Margaret Carlson Citron, who sat on this panel for a number of years, and really, I would say was probably one of our tougher critics of those that we interviewed, to see that she's, giving her a recommendation. I think that speaks volumes about this candidate as well as the resume that she's putting forward. So I would definitely recommend us connecting with her.
Thank you. Next candidate is Jeffrey Heimler. Or Heimert. I think that's it. Oh, it's an L at the end. Heimerl. Sometimes the L's look like T's. Any comments regarding Jeffrey Heimler? Mr. Iannoso.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And, I'd certainly like to offer support for Jeffrey Hammerl. First of all, when it comes to leadership qualities, as a business manager and trustee on their board, on a board, I think he has the leadership qualities. He's also on the Minnesota State Board of Electricity, which I think is somewhat important, and on governance, Union Bank Board. Also graduated from William Mitchell Law. Certainly serves a purpose of, I know that Regent chairs ideology of wanting somebody with some type of law degree in attorney degree. So I certainly would support him and ask that you all consider also supporting him. Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments regarding Mr. Heimerl? All right, seeing none, moving on to Christopher Johnson. Mr. Johnson's candidacy. Christopher Johnson, any comments? Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I found Mr. Johnson's background in healthcare to be extensive and at a high level. I think that would benefit the U and their healthcare area. This applicant also spoke on the importance of the university reputation, which I think is very important in this building. So he has a keen eye for that, so I would support him.
Thank you, Mr. Devine. Any other comments regarding Christopher Johnson? Okay, moving on.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I just have a question. I'm looking at these and I see that people like Mr. Johnson are extremely qualified. Do these, what's our responsibility when we vote here to, the time commitment that it's going to take to sit on the Board of Regents? And if they have a full-time position as a CEO, and they plan on continuing that job, is that something we're supposed to consider in passing these people forward? I'm just kind of curious.
Yeah, that's a difficult question because I think the candidate, hopefully is taking that into consideration and made a decision about whether to apply for a regency position or not based upon their current workload and involvement and looking ahead. So it's difficult to really, unless we have the person in front of us, when we bring them forward for an interview and really ask several questions around that issue, it's really hard to say.
But are they informed that this is a 40 to 60 hour a month workload? And they are capable of being the president, chief executive officer of a major organization? I mean, I'm just curious, and I'm asking because I don't know.
Ms. Farrell has a comment on that.
I appreciate your concern, because when I look at our current Board of Regents and I understand the time commitment, and because Regent Mayeron and others have said, the time in meetings is the smallest piece of it. The time in being prepared is the biggest piece of it. And I think the information that they have online when they review the responsibilities as an applicant doesn't say it in big bold letters. It talks about the time commitment, but it doesn't say it with big bold letters. And I think our responsibility, when we interview those people, is to ask them those questions loudly, because they need to know how much time commitment it is. I know, for example, I talked about applicant Bob Beecher because I know him. And I said, Bob, and he said, I will retire. That is my story. I remember other candidates that we asked that question of because they were working, and they said the same thing, I will retire. I've looked at, as I reviewed the applications, and I read every one of them, and appreciate the time that an applicant spends filling out an application. We ask those questions and they need to answer them. I look at, and it's kind of hard, too much governing experience, not enough governing experience. Some of these folks are on governing boards that when you look at the time frame, it runs for another couple of years. So unless they're ready to tap out of them. So I appreciate your question because it's a big concern of mine.
We have Bill Otto that would like to comment. Bill, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a question for you or maybe for the body. I understand everyone's concerns about the time commitment, but I guess my question is that not for the candidates themselves to decide and not for us? I believe our responsibility is to put forward the best possible and the most qualified candidates that we can, and ultimately it would be their decision in the end should they move through the process as to whether or not they can manage the time commitment. Is that correct?
I appreciate your comments, yes. You know, unless we have the person in front of us to directly ask that question, it's hard to make an assertion of their intention. This conversation has been good though, because people don't realize that even as a new Regent member, many times you are put in a position where you are going to be chairing two subcommittees. And I think the University of Minnesota in their application process, that, or perhaps we can do a better job of identifying and specifically laying out the amount of time it takes. I know in talking with the current chair, they get a packet of information on a Friday, and the chair mentions, I spend all weekend preparing. Now, she is the chair, which is a little bit different responsibility, but she would spend a weekend preparing for the next week's meeting.
One of the reasons I bring up the point up, Mr. Chair, because you so eloquently honored me with the position of chair of the recruitment committee at our last meeting, if you recall, because I said I'd be willing to help, and you made me the chair. I couldn't get anybody else to volunteer to come on board, but I probably had conversations with, I would say, 20 different qualified people. Once I told them what the commitment was for time, the answer was, I really appreciate you asking me to know, and then to know, are you crazy? You know, so I'm just wondering, and I'm asking the question because I don't know if, I know we're spending a lot of time on these, and I would hate to get somebody in here and have them not aware of what it takes. There's no compensation, and that has been laid out too. That's all. Thank you.
Well, in addition to their official capacity, they also attend a lot of different fundraising events, you know, different functions at the university. So it is a big job. And I do appreciate you volunteering, by the way. An honor. Okay. I think.
Chairman
yeah.
Clausen, I just want to say, I think my previous comments when we were talking about Mrs. Harms was not in decorum in terms of sharing references in that information. So I just want to acknowledge that those references are meant to remain private. And so I apologize for sharing that information.
Thank you.
Just a further comment to Mr. Angelos, that the candidate here has just been in this new position since October. So it's a brand new role as CEO and board chairman and board member and president of this new company. So it's not like someone is ready to walk out the door on a moment's notice. It's a brand new role for him at this point.
Thank you. Thanks for those comments. All right. Any other comments? Benjamin Kaplan, we've already reviewed his candidacy and accepted him as a Congressional District 5 candidate, so why don't we move on? Oh, did I miss I'm sorry, Travis Johnson, please. Thank you. Comments regarding Travis Johnson's candidacy?
Mr. Chair, I'll just note, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe at the October 29th meeting, and the reason I believe that is because I sent a note to my friends after listening to the October 29th meeting. You mentioned at the beginning, they wanted someone from a financial business background, the representatives of the Board of Regents. Financial business background, a legal background, and keenly, my ears perked up quite a bit when they said agriculture. And the second regent said, I agree, that would be helpful as well. And I don't think they mean corporate agriculture. I think they mean probably on the ground, because there's a lot of feedback and issues there. And then separately, they said environmental. I don't know Mr. Johnson, and I think there's two other candidates here, but I just wanted to note that I think getting someone as close to the farm as possible. Mr. Johnson's not from the St. Paul campus. He's from the Crookston campus. And again, I don't know him and wasn't reached out to, but I'll make comments later. But I think the regents are asking for somebody from the St. Paul campus or as close to the farm as possible on the Board of Regents. I'll also note, they did say, you know, we don't need medical. We have 2 doctors and a nurse, and that's what I wrote here, and someone can correct that. But those were the 5 things I wrote down in that October 29th meeting. And so with that, I feel Mr. Johnson, aside from anything else, is qualified by occupation and background. So just wanted to share that.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments regarding Mr. Travis Johnson? Moving on, then, we just talked about Benjamin Kaplan. We've already accepted him as a candidate in Congressional District 5. Waqas Khalid. Any comments regarding his candidacy? Yes.
Something I didn't mention in my introduction earlier was being the undergraduate student body president through our University of Twin Cities campus. And one of our presidential goals is sustainability, or having the university and our Board of Regents prioritize sustainability at all of our campuses. And something Kennedy Khalid mentions is sustainability and having the university focus more on advancing energy effective or efficient infrastructure on all of our campuses. And I think that's a really, really important answer, or just mention that he did include in his application that really stood out to me. So I would definitely ask for us to consider looking more into that and just consider him as a candidate for this role.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Yes, Ms. Farrell.
I just have a small comment, and I hope and believe it's a typo, but in the attestations, on question number 3, he said yes. He didn't give any explanation, so I think it was I don't think he read it carefully, but that's where we asked the question, is there any event in your past life that would prevent you negatively impact your effectiveness as a regent? And he said yes. I think he meant no. I don't know, but he said yes. So it just would be something.
Okay. Any other comments? All right.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I was very impressed with his resume. You know, the fact he's got this technical background and he's developed these technology, you know, applied technologies to his treatment, of course, at the eye clinic. And I think that's very impressive. And I think a, you know, technology person that knows how to apply that into the real world is a very important attribute.
Thank you. Roger Kittleson, we did consider him as a candidate in the 5th. Any additional comments?
Mr. Chair, I'll just note he's one of the few with a St. Paul campus major, and I know they're embarking on a big rebuilding plan or kind of a plan. They haven't had one for an absence of about a decade. So there's only a few opportunities for that sort of St. Paul campus agricultural major.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Josh Lease. Mr. Rianoso.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You know, there are a lot of candidates on here, and there's one specifically that I'd really like to speak in favor of, should I say, and that's Josh Lease. You know, first of all, he is a University of Minnesota Law School graduate. And I've personally worked with him in a capacity at the legislature. You know, right now, you know, he has played roles in St. Cloud University Director of Development, uh, legislative chair, which I think is critically important. Look, we can all admit that sometimes there needs to be more input on the lobbying efforts, at the University of Minnesota. They can always use some assistance. I believe Senator Rarick would agree with me on that and concur on that. I think when it comes to a big issue that he recently worked on, and I worked with him on it, was a pension work group. Specifically in a bipartisan effort, the Legislative Commission on Pensions, as you know, Mr. Chair, in retirement, it's not easy to get a bill through, yet he was successful in lobbying this effort. I think it would be an advantageous opportunity for the university to take on a regent that understands the process of lobbying and being successful. As we all know, it's easy to get a bill introduced here. It's another thing to get it passed out of committee and passed on the floor and signed into law. So I think he would serve a fantastic position in being able to advise and provide that information for the University of Minnesota. And as we know, they can always use some extra advice at the Capitol.
Good, thank you. Any other comments regarding the candidacy of Mr. Lees? All right, moving on, Michael Lesage. Comments regarding Mr. Lesage? Seeing none, moving on to Mike Linneman. We did discuss his candidacy for the 5th Congressional District. Any other comments this time? Right. With that, moving on, Ellen Luger has already been identified as a person that we would interview from the 5th Congressional District, so we'll move on. Kosar Mohammed has also been identified as a person for the student at large that we would interview. Any additional comments? All right. Yes.
Yes, she does have a very, very good application, an amazing resume, very, very involved around the community, whether that's in her own community as well as our university community at large. And I think she'd be a great candidate for this role.
Okay. She will be already granted an interview, so we can certainly talk about her candidacy here at large as well. Scott Nagel, comments regarding Mr. Nagel.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Nagel did reach out to me and I can provide my strong support for him. Again, I think with the St. Paul campus plan, a president who has professed food as medicine as a strategy at the university. We need somebody in agriculture and familiar with the St. Paul campus. And I'm going to give Mr. Nagel my strong support.
Thank you. Any other comments regarding Mr. Nagel? Looking at the next candidate, Nicole Noverdell. One of these days I'll get it. Do we have any comments? We've already considered her candidacy in the 5th. All right, moving on to Brian Osberg, another candidate that we considered in the 5th. All right, moving on, Timothy Owen, candidate in the at-large. Any comments? Any comments regarding Mr. Owen's candidacy? All right, let's move on. Next candidate is Richard Painter. And he has been a candidate in the past. He is a current employee at the University of Minnesota. Any comments regarding Mr. Painter? Yes, well, I don't know him personally, but he certainly has stellar credentials with a Harvard degree and a Yale degree. And I know he's been active at the University Law School and involved with the White House Counsel's Office in the past. So he's definitely got a broad background in the legal field. Any other comments regarding Mr. Painter's candidacy? Next candidate is Daryl Scarborough. Comments regarding Mr. Scarborough's candidacy? Seeing no hands raised, we'll go to Ann Shelton. Ann Shelton's candidacy. Yes, Mr. Jessen.
Mr. Chair, I was able to work with Ms. Sheldon at the when she was a board member of the University of Minnesota Alumni Association while I was chair, and she then later went on to become chair for the Alumni Association. And another candidate who not only speaks well of the university all the time, but then backs it up with her commitment to volunteering. And her experience at Medtronic has been extensive, and she's a leader on a lot of different fronts. So she'd be a terrific Regent candidate.
Thank you. I believe, as I recall, she works for Medtronic, you mentioned. I remember her as being a strong candidate as well. Any other comments regarding Ann Sheldon? Joni Sussman is our next candidate. Any comments regarding Joni Sussman? Seeing none, Scott Wallace is our next candidate. Yes, Mr. Jessen.
Mr. Chair, I'm going to come off sounding biased. Mr. Wallace also served on the board with me at the University Alumni Association and served as my vice chair. And he went on to become chair as well. And he is another individual who is a tireless advocate for the university, backs it up with many hours of service for the university in his role on the alumni board and leading the alumni board. He also led a task force for revenue growth that has helped build stronger finances for the Alumni Association. And he has extensive experience in this profession and would be a great asset to the university.
Thank you. Any other comments?
I would echo Mr. Jensen's sentiments. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments regarding Dale or Scott Wallace? I'm sorry. Next candidate, Dale Weeks. We considered Mr. Weeks in the 5th Congressional District and had a discussion about his candidacy. Any other comments? Okay, seeing none, Dan Wolter. Comments regarding Mr. Wolter. Senator Eric.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Many people in here may know Mr. Wolter did serve a number of years on this committee. He is someone who has been in constant communication with me while we're in session in regards to issues that are going on at the University of Minnesota. So he has had a constant kind of pulse, keeping his finger on the pulse of what is going on there. I think he knows the issues. And when you look at his backgrounds, he brings a lot of experience to the table. Would be a great person to interview.
Thank you. Mr. Otto has a comment. Hello, Bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Wolter and I overlapped on employment at the university a number of years ago, and I'm not sure that there are any of the interviewees here before us today that would have the depth of understanding that I think he would bring to the board, both from the perspective of being a staff member, if I recall correctly, he was the board spokesperson at the time, and now as a concerned citizen. I think I'm almost certain he's also established a private scholarship and endowment at the university to help undergraduates afford tuition, which I think is honorable for any citizen and certainly any potential regent to have done and to bring to the table. Many of us, as Senator Ware just said, are familiar with Mr. Walter as our previous chair. And I think you would all agree that during his tenure with RCAC, at least in my experience, he focused strongly on ensuring that we provided the legislature with diverse and strong options and put forward more candidates to the legislature than had done so previously. And I actually believe under our last cycle, as chairman, we put forth to the legislature both not only the largest, but also the most diverse slate of candidates in the history of the RCAC. So for those reasons, I would encourage my colleagues around the table to support an interview for Mr. Walter. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments regarding Mr. Walter? Well, I'm going to congratulate him because he just was elected to the Lakeville City Council this past fall. So congratulations, Dan. Our last two, Flora Yang and Dylan Young, are both candidates for the student at large position. So they've already been granted an interview. So we're at the point, I think, where we can do some voting for the at-large. Many, many candidates, many good candidates here. And I'm going to have Sally just talk a little bit about the voting process.
So because there are two positions of the at-large on this ballot, you'll vote for 0 to 6 for each position. So essentially you can vote for up to 12 for the at-large positions. And if anyone's reading that differently, please free up to talk, but it says, finalists shall be selected by ballot with council members voting for up to 6 nominees for each open seat.
Yes, Senator Eric.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So we're going to vote for both of them together? Okay, so instead of picking one at large, eliminating 5 or 6 people and then doing it again.
Kind of voting for the top 12 that you believe will be good regions.
Sure, just point of
Yes, Mr.
clarification.
Reynoso.
How many, so are you saying that we can actually technically move 12 candidates forward? Is that what you're saying?
Possibly if they all,
Okay,
reach the
not that
12.
we want to, but.
if they reach the threshold of 12 votes.
Right, okay, so the second question, because it's two separate seats, when we recommend to the legislature, what is that number going to be?
Well, we can pass on up to 4
For each seat?
for each seat. Yes.
Just want to make sure that was clarified.
And I believe that when you do the voting of recommended, the 2 at-larges are grouped together as these 8 candidates for the 2 at-large positions, but whatever the number is, 4 to 8.
Thank you. Okay. Any questions again about the voting procedures? All right, with that, let's move forward and vote.
And Mr. Chair, I just also wanted to clarify that all the candidates that have either been selected for an interview or have been taken off this at-large ballot.
Yes, thank you. So we will only be voting for those that have not previously been selected through the student at large and Congressional District 5 voting. Okay, thank you.
It must have warmed up for a bit. Yes. Can anyone let us know if they haven't received the ballot online or in the room?
These guys are buying over here. They can't say no.
Like, yeah, keeps coming back.
It keeps coming back for me. Is that also happening to anyone else without it submitting?
We started.
Still doing your thing.
It's still doing the same.
Okay, why don't you write down
Right now,
and put your name on it? No, what if you close out completely and click on her link again?
I tried it.
So you can write down your choices and put your names on it. Oh, we have backup.
Working now? So we're supposed to do it in a writing format then?
Yeah, right. Diane has ballots, but she has to cross out people. But then you'll just have it ready for yourself in case something happens.
Oh.
Oh my gosh.
If,
Maybe in the meantime, we could assign people to call these people.
Okay.
While we're waiting for these results, one of the next steps in the process is that we need to notify the applicants. Either they've been selected for an interview or those that were not chosen. And traditionally, the way that we've done that is that we ask for volunteers amongst the RAC membership to contact people. I'm just laying out the process for people, yeah. I'm just laying out the process. Well.
I've lost control of that gavel. There you go. We give you.
What? Get that.
Yeah, mine just bounces back on my phone too.
Remember, put your names on there.
Yeah. Oh. That's, you're doing this. Okay. I did too. So.
Okay. Let's see who submitted. Oh, we. Call everyone in, we'll knock out some of the things. It's gonna be great without. We have time to go. Did you put your name on it? Okay, thank you. I. Some aren't, some aren't. Okay, thank you. No, I think we should assign calls. Yeah. Yeah. You're gonna have to call them anyway. Someone's gonna have to call them anyway.
Get people there.
Just 24 references, interviews to schedule. I know, no. I know you're kidding. Yeah.
You're gonna be busy. Could you take down the names?
I'll do it too, but if you can do it, Barb.
Yeah. Gavel is back in here and talk about a little bit of the procedure we need to take care of today. And trying to save some time while we're doing this. We need to notify the applicants that have been selected, notice that unfortunately did not they were chosen for an interview. So RCAT members traditionally have volunteered to notify the applicants of their status, like calling them and, just letting them know that they've been chosen for an interview, or unfortunately, they have not been selected. And we traditionally say these should be all taken care of by Sunday evening. So we've got the upcoming weekend, we'd like to get it done. And looking at, the people, it usually will be 1 to 2 names you're going to have to contact. I'm going to read off the names, and Barb and Sally here will record them. So as I call up the name, could you volunteer to make a call? Taiwu Armu, anyone willing to take that contact? Kosar Mohammed. Kosar Mohammed. Okay, you'll do Kosar as well, okay? Madeline Rowe. Yang, Florida Yang. What? And Young, Dylan Young. Robert Albright. Volunteer. Okay. Devin Driscoll.
And Mr. Chair, I can take that.
Okay, thank you, Ryan. John Friedel. Benjamin Kaplan. Roger Kittleson. Mike Linneman. Matt's gonna take it. Ellen Luger. Connie.
Thank you. Connie, Representative. Jenna Mitchler. I'll take her. I'll take Jenna. Mohammed, we've already got. Nicole Navratil. Jenna Mitchler, I think, I said I'd do it. Yep. Brian Osberg. Oh. Thank you. Dale Weeks. Matt Hill. Okay, interruption.
Sorry to do this. For the folks online, if you were having the same issue with the survey not working, if you could just reply to either me or to Diane's email with your selection, and then she can track it. Just respond to the email Diane sent. Thank you.
Okay. Going on with our contacts, Jamal Adam. Okay. Zachary Arco. Tai Wu, we've already done. Robert Beecher. Okay. Peter Butler. Drew Christensen, Senator Varick. Sam. Fernando Curiel. You'd put me down. Yep. Greg Slykowski. Greg Slykowski. I didn't hear anybody. Did anybody raise it? We'll go Quentin. Okay. Yeah. Devin Driscoll, we've already covered. Jeff Ettinger. Mark. John Friedel, we've already done. John Gibbs will be Senator Rarick. Katie Mary Harms.
Megan?
Megan, okay, Megan's got it. Jeffrey Heimel, Heimer. Jeffrey Heimer, okay. In. Christopher Johnson. I'll do. Kenny will do it. Travis Johnson. Ben. Lucas will do it. Ben Kaplan, we've already talked about. Wakus Khalid. Take Wakus Khalid. Okay. Take that. Roger Kittleson, we've already covered. Josh Lease. We'll go, okay, Ed. Ed's got Josh Lease. Michael Lesage. Steve will do it. Mike Linneman, we've already covered. Eileen Luger, we've already covered. Kosar Muhammad, we've covered. About Scott Nagel. Lucas will take Scott. Nicole, we've covered. Brian Osberg, we've covered. Timothy Owen. I'll take. Richard Painter. Senator Rarick will take Richard Painter. Daryl Scarborough. Oh, Connie will. Ann Sheldon. Mark will. Joni Sussman. Wendy. Scott Wallace. Mark will take Scott. Dale Weeks, we already covered. Dan Walter. Take that. Senator Rarick will do Dan Walter. Flora Yang, we've already covered, and Dylan Young, we've covered. So we've got everybody covered. Again, if you could make these calls and contacts by the end of Friday evening.
So we're just saying you did not receive it, you will not receive it, will not be interviewed, or you will be interviewed, but we won't give them a date and a time. They'll be notified later.
Sally will do the scheduling.
Yeah, if you're reaching out to candidates that were selected for an interview, you can advise that I will be in contact with them next week to schedule their interview. Yes.
Yes, you could.
And that's already been posted for people who are applying, so we had that set, but yes,
It's a
that's
good-
that's a good reminder.
And the idea that it could be from business hours 9 to 5, roughly, or 9 to 4. Yeah, Senator Rarick.
Another question that a few of the people who reached out to me, and this is kind of for our members, they were asking, is it appropriate for them to contact RCAC members individually before the interviews? And I guess I was not sure if people are comfortable with that, or they only want to deal with the interview process. I know I'm getting reached out because as a senator, they're contacting me both ways, but for everyone else, if that question comes up, are members comfortable with our interviewees reaching out to them individually prior to the interviews?
To reflect upon the past, that they've done that. So any strong feelings either way, people, Barb?
I would say it's within, as members of this committee, your discretion. If you feel comfortable having that conversation, well, I think that's perfectly fine. And if you would rather not, I think the candidate shouldn't consider that here nor there. They just should, accept that they wouldn't do it. So I think it's not happened a lot with me, but when I have, I think it's been a good experience for the candidate to better understand the process and what to expect.
All right. continuing to wait here. I think I've talked earlier about the interview process. Any questions on that? Again, candidates will have 3 to 5 minutes to make an opening statement. Interviews will be 45 minutes in length. The questions, again, we've developed a list of questions. There's no formal process about who takes what questions, but rather it's always been kind of an open flow. If you have a question you want to ask, go ahead and ask it. And that's how we've done that in the past. But we would appreciate sticking to the set of questions we have so that we can tell all candidates have had a very similar interview process. Okay. Reference check, we talked a little bit about that. Sally and Wendy will be doing that, reaching out to people that have been identified as a reference for our candidates that we will be interviewing. They will have the responses back to us by January 3rd, so that we would have that information in front of us as we begin interviewing candidates. Yeah, how are we doing?
We're just missing one.
We're missing one?
One.
Okay. While we're waiting, again, any questions about upcoming process, anything on people's minds that like to discuss? Appreciate you hanging in there. It's been about a 3 hour, a little over 3 hours a meeting. Appreciate everyone's commitment and involvement. Yes.
Just a question. I'm not sure if you mentioned this, but for the interview process, did you mention, is there a closing statement or is it just the opening statement? That's 3 minutes.
If we found that if there's time remaining for that 45 minutes, that we can ask, do you have any closing thoughts? But I mean, if they're pushing the interview and their responses right up to the end, sometimes don't, but they do have that, all will have that opening comment of 3 to 5 minutes about their candidacy.
I can speak to that. So typically when an interview is confirmed, I will follow up with all the details of, there'll be an opening statement, 3 to 5 minutes, some suggested items for them if they want to touch on. It, depending on the time, they can make a 1 minute, 2 minute closing statement. In there, because the one pagers became more common, we say some candidates have found they like to submit a 1 page document, like bio of themselves, to distribute to the members. So we give them that option, but also let them know that it's not something that they have to do, but just so they are aware that other people do it, so they're not caught off guard.
Okay. Well, does anyone have any travel plans for now? Not the week of January 6th. Get to the airport early.
Brenda, are you still there?
Yes.
Could you send me your selection via email? We don't have your form. We're having some technical issues.
Oh, I see. It said it submitted, but I will do that.
Oh, it did?
Mhm.
I don't, we're not seeing it in the results. So if you could send it, your selection to me, that would be great. Apologies, technology.
Sure.
Who had a question? Yes, Representative Bernardi.
Well, she's not gonna hear this. Okay, well, I just want to take a moment. I wanted to take a moment and thank our staff
you.
because Megan Volke, Diane Henry Wagenstein, and Sally Olson are amazing. And I just really appreciate the effort they put into doing this. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for doing that. Absolutely. We couldn't handle this process without their assistance and help and organization. It's greatly appreciated. Yes, Connie.
And then, Mr. Chair, if somebody is like out of town or something and they can't make it, they have the option of being, to reviewing all the videos of people's, interviews. And if they don't do that, then they can't vote, right? I mean, can you just clarify? Because a lot of members are new. They have.
Can you clarify what you're
Okay,
asking?
so I'm just saying that everybody needs to participate. If you are going to vote, you need to participate in all the interviews.
Absolutely.
And that could either be in person or online. And then you can also, it's the least option. It's like the least desirable option, but you can go back and review those as well if you couldn't make to the live interviews. Is
Right.
that accurate?
Yes. It's, I know it's a real commitment to be here every day for a week. And not all people can. It's ideal if you can be here and take in the interview process. But we do have those online and we do have those where you can review them at a later date. So that is possible. And that would be true too of our candidates. If we have done interviews online with candidates, if they are not available. So that's an option as well. Yes, Barb.
I was just, when we talk about making these phone calls to the candidates to let them know if they're advanced or not, especially for new people to the committee, a reason to do that quickly, besides the polite and professional thing to do, is there will be a press release that says that this committee has interviewed or has invited these people to an interview. And one of the reasons that we want to make these phone calls as quickly as possible is we really don't want any candidate to read about it in the paper before they've heard from us. So even if you have to leave a message or you have to do something, but it is important to be quick about it. Sorry, thank you.
So it is appropriate to leave a voice message if you don't get an answer.
Yeah, I have done that, but I always say too, if you'd like to further discuss this, if you'd like to call me, here's my number and you can get back in touch with me. But I know people are waiting and they're anxious and try to get that out to them as quick as we can. We're getting close. Yes, Senator Rarick.
Another question for our next rounds. Mr. Andalchek had to leave and will not be able to vote in subsequent rounds. So that'll leave us at 20. So do we continue needing 12 votes or do we only need 11 then at that?
Then it would reduce down to 11, yes. The other option is someone could move to suspend the rules. That would be an option too. If you've got someone that's close, you could suspend the rules. That would have to be voted on, of course. Right, Sally, got the results here. Could you let us know?
Jamal Adams, 11.
Senator Clausen, can I just ask
Yes.
something, please? And Ms. Olson, could you say these a little bit slower? Because I can't write them down as fast as you say them. So just, I didn't know you were gonna start, so I would like to get my
Right.
document.
Have
Thank
your
you.
sheets in front of you, your scorecards. Very good scorecard.
Ready? Jamal Adams, 11. Zachary Arco, 4. Robert Beecher, 8. Peter Butler, 3. Drew Christensen, 8. Arnaldo Curiel, 5. Greg Psychowski, 1. Jeff Edinger, 12. John Friedel, 1. John Gibbs, 9.
What's that again, please?
9.
9.
Katie Harms, 11. Jeffrey Hemmerl, 4. Christopher Johnson, 2. Travis Johnson, 9. Waquis Khalid, 3. Josh Lees, 6. Verify. Roger Kittleson, 0. Diane, can you verify that? Josh Lees, 6. Michael Lesage, 5. Mike Linneman, 3. Scott Nagel, 6. Nicole Navratil, I'm sorry, I'm going fast again, aren't I? 1. Brian Osberg, 3. Timothy Owen, 1. Richard Painter, 4. Daryl Scarborough, 1. Ann Sheldon, 14. Joni Sussman, 0. I gotta verify. So back to Roger Kittleson, that was 2. Scott Wallace is 8. Dale Weeks is 0. Dan Walter, 9.
All right. In looking at this, you've got a real cross-section of votes. You need 12. We have Jeffrey Ellinger and Ann Sheldon were the only 2 that actually reached that. As a reminder, we need to have, if there's 2 positions and we can advance as many as 4, that means 8 people. So advance to the legislature, correct? Yeah. Or, yeah, but looking at these numbers, it's gonna be interesting. Any thoughts, people?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
is it true that persons in the first 2 categories, student and CD5 would also fall to at-large throughout the process, or could fall to at-large throughout the process?
That would be true if they've, as listed on our sheet here, that they've applied for both, yes. So they would be considered in more than one category of open seats. Bill Otto.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Could you just confirm for us the the top four vote getters, please.
Okay, the top four. Yes, Sally, go ahead.
Bill, did you want the top four, including the two that advanced, or just, I'll just,
Sure. Yes, that's fine.
okay, well, there, Jamal Adams had 11. John Gibbs, 9. Katie Harms, 11. Travis Johnson, 9. And Dan Walter, 9. That didn't include the Ann Sheldon and Jeff Ettinger.
Yep. Thank
I
you.
just picked 9 and above. I don't know why.
If I was grading this in my education days and looking at a curve, I would probably cut it off at 8. Since we do have several at that point, yes.
Members' opinions, if I were to make a motion to suspend the rules so that we could advance all members receiving 8 votes or more instead of doing continuous ballots.
Okay. Have a second?
Second.
Second by Lucas. All right, we'll be voting on that again. The motion is to suspend the rules. And that may be 2 motions you've got here. You want to do it in one, okay? So we're suspending the rules and also moving that any of the candidates in the at-large position that have 8 or more votes, we would move them that they would be receiving a interview. Okay, and that would be a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yes, it'd be 10 people. Okay. Everyone understand what we will be voting on?
I think you can make it one motion, suspend the rules in advance. The selection procedures say suspension of these rules is permitted only for the specific purpose stated in the motion to suspend and must receive the support of 2/3 of the members present in order to prevail.
Okay. So that, as I interpret that, this has to be two. Okay, so the first motion we're voting on is to suspend the rules. And because it's 2/3, we'll have to do a roll call.
Chair Clausen,
Yes.
Member Ali. Yes. Member Andalchik, Member Bernardi,
Yes.
Member Devine,
Yes.
Member Farrell, Member Hilbrich,
Yes.
Member Hill,
Yes.
Member Jessen,
Yes.
Senator Mohammed,
Yes.
Member Mergendal,
Yes.
Member Ojala,
Yes.
Member Otto,
Yes.
Member Moore,
Yes.
Member Pandy,
Yes.
Member Rarick,
Yes.
Member Reynoso, Member Shostrom,
Yes.
Member Theophalt,
Yes.
Member Tyke,
Yes.
Member Winkler.
Yes.
Okay, so we definitely have a 2/3 majority, so that has passed, so we have suspended the rules. And now Senator Rarick, take up your second motion, go ahead.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I'll make it official. I'll move that we vote to move forward every member receiving 8 or more votes on this first ballot.
Okay, is there a second?
Okay.
Do we have a second? Pardon me?
Second.
All right, we have an amendment looking at moving that to 6 or more. I believe that needs a second.
Chair, I'd like to second that.
Okay, we have a motion to look at amending Senator Rarick's amendment, moving the vote to 6 or more. These would be people that have received 6 or more votes, and they would be moved to the interview stage. Okay. Yes. That would give us 12 candidates. So Mr. Rianoso, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And you know, we're only adding an extra 2. I think it would give us a bigger consensus of candidates. And I'd really appreciate your support. Thank you.
Any other? Yes, Senator Rivera.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would consider that a friendly amendment.
Thank you. I'm going to ask Sally then to read off the names of those receiving 6 or more votes for the at-large position.
Jamal Adams with 11, Robert Beecher, 8, Drew Christensen, 8. Jeff Anderson's already interviewed. John Gibbs, 9, Katie Harms, 11, Travis Johnson, 9, Josh Leese, 6, Scott Nagel, 6, and Sheldon's already, Scott Wallace, 8, and Dan Walter, 9.
Okay. That would be a total of 12. Is that correct? 12 people that we would bring in for an interview then. All right. We need to vote on this. All those in favor of the amendment that's been proposed that we include all candidates who receive 6 or more votes for the at-large would be granted an interview, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Same sign. Are those opposed? Okay. Motion passes. Okay. I think we have accomplished our task today. I greatly appreciate the cooperation of each individual member of the RCAT. It's been a long day. Bill does have a comment online. Bill Otto, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a question. We just voted on the amendment, correct? We need to still vote on the underlying motion. Is that correct?
I think Senator Rarick accepted the amendment as a friendly amendment. Still vote on it. Okay.
Yes. Does that clarify it for you, Bill? Oh, we have to vote again. Oh, that's right, because we voted on the amendment to the amendment. I'm sorry, we voted. All right, so to the original motion that has been amended, we would accept all the candidates receiving 6 or more votes for the at-large position to be granted an interview. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. The amendment passes. Very good. Any questions before we leave? Well, may you all have very happy holiday season. And again, thank you for your commitment and stay safe.
So are we meeting with